Right? Good. So today I'm going to show you everything that has been uploaded to Dropbox. We're going to talk about your formal documentation requests and LEED online. And then I'm going to put it, give the mic to Angelica. So I'm recording today's session, so you can refer, afterwards you can refer to the session again if you want. So if you have questions for Angelica, you may be able to just go back to the presentation. I know Thor wasn't able to make it today, so he can catch up. So I'm hoping that the rest of the sessions, any formal presentation sessions, that we'll be able to do this. That way, if you happen to have to miss a class, you can still log in that way. Of course, we want you to still work on everything outside of class, but if you can't make it for some reason. So everyone has access to the Dropbox, correct? Have you all perused through it there yet? Today we went through all of the folders. Indigo had a folder where she uploaded most of her information, and then what we did, we've added, so that's not a good example. That one isn't either. There we go. So if there's associated documentation with your credit, it should be in here. CCI has sent over as much as they can. I'm sure that there's some other documentation that you still may need. If that's the case, Indigo has asked that you reach out to her personally, so I'll send her email address in the follow-up email as well, so you have that, and then that way you can communicate about that. So I want you to check here through some of you sent me over a list of documents that you need for the credits. If you can verify if that list meets with what Indigo has provided, that would be great. And then if there's any missing documents, CCI can send that over to you. But I would at least get started on what you have available. The next two classes are going to be primarily working sessions, and CCI is going to be here to answer any specific questions that you may have. So there'll be more, you'll have time to work on it, but if you can do your homework prior, those working sessions, you'll be able to get a lot more out of those working sessions if you do some prep work, right? So, CCI Center. Okay. So I just want, all of that information is here, and then also we've updated the course participant list. You'll see that we've added the LEED Online account, the portfolio manager account, so some of you may have some energy and atmosphere credits. So you'll find all of the usernames and passwords here. We'll go through today. Angelica's going to walk you through actually what submitting a form is like. So definitely take notes for that. But for all of the online submissions that you're going to be working on, you're going to be using my username and password. So I want to make notes here that it must be an Internet Explorer to access LEED Online, and it has to be 9. It can't be Internet Explorer 10. It doesn't accept it. This is real life experience. It's a pain in the butt. There's one little secret that I'm going to go over. The more current version of Internet Explorer. She's kind of okay. See, this is why she's here today. Because Safari can work too? Okay. Okay. Because and so CCI Indigo is assigning me all of the credits. So you should be able to download the form up update the form, save the form, and then save everything onto LEED Online directly. So that's what you'll do, that you'll have that hands-on experience for all of your credits. And then, did you guys get time to go to LEED User as well and explore LEED User? Do you guys have questions about how it works or how you can use it as a tool for you as you're working on your credits?
I had some problems with it last night trying to download the documents.
Okay.
It was probably my computer bill. It was requiring me to update my Adobe, and for some reason my computer was
Okay.
So I may have felt that problem today.
So,
I had that same problem, and I used Internet Explorer and it worked.
Oh,
so
okay.
if you're using like Firefox,
I was on Firefox.
It wasn't working.
so you want to select your, of course, LEED-EBOM version 2009. And then here you've got all of your, sorry. Is this what I want? This is not what I want. Maybe it will give me. Oh yeah, yeah. There we go. This is what I was looking for. This interface. So you select your associated credit category from here, and then you have your specific credit. So we'll stick with SS Credit 1, and this is the documentation toolkit for you. This is not quite. So they have an online form, which is really great. People have questions specifically about the credit, and then there's someone usually that responds. So you can cruise through there and see like what other people are having trouble with, how they're getting through their credits. And then there's certain credits have sample forms that you can go through, and from there you can download and get ideas. Here we go. So you can get ideas of what your form is actually supposed to look like, right? So here's one with tips, and I think this is, in my first experience with working in forms, it was a little difficult to navigate, right? Because it's all new information, and so I think this gives you an idea of what exactly you need and what type of data you need to plug in. And Angelica will go over that. So each credit has its information, and I didn't just give it to you just because I think it's cool. It's an actual really great resource, right? So I want you to use it. And then I think that's the only thing for me that I want to make sure that you guys are aware of. Otherwise, I'll give it to Angelica, and then we can do some. Actually, before we give it to Angelica, does anyone have any specific questions about your documentation? We'll go over, what we'll do is, over the next week, I want you to verify everything through Dropbox and see what you've got in there and how it compares. But if there's any specific questions that you had about the credits that you were assigned or anything like that that you think I could answer today before we talk about LEED Online, I think that would be useful. No? Okay. Feel free. We'll do Q&A at the end too, so we'll open it up that way as well.
One question about Dropbox. So now, if you just uploaded last night or today, it's supposed to be previously downloaded, say last night around 10 o'clock, we should have.
So what we did today was, originally everything was in the Indigo Uploads folder, and there's still some information here. So Conservation Consultants, this is a great resource. This is their original certification. So you might go here to see what that original credit information was. So this is kind of like the catch-all folder. This is where you're going to get your floor plans, things like that.
We did download floor plans separately too.
And then in specific categories, there's additional information. So what we did today was, all of that information was originally in the Indigo Uploads. Now we've sorted them with their associated credits, so that way you didn't have to go searching and searching and searching for it. It was already there for you. I do want to reiterate that this is not how it happens in the real world, right? You have to. CCI Center is being extremely helpful on our end, because in practice you're usually chasing people down for this information, and that might take 2 weeks, a month, etc. So this is an ideal situation, and they're still working on some of their documentation, but just know that, I don't know that they would ask you that on the exam, but just know that that is part of the process, right?
Can I ask you a favor? If you update the Dropbox in the future, could you put that in a separate folder, so that if we download this right now, we don't have to look in every folder to find the new documentation session, but maybe put a dated folder in there that says update as of 4/30 or 5/5, and then we go in that folder and take from there and put in the separate folders that we've already downloaded. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if.
Isn't there a data as a thing?
Yeah. Yeah, but we have to look in every folder and find out if it was a specific document related to a specific category.
Well, you have 4 credits, right? So everyone has 4 credits that are assigned to them. So
we're all going to be changing the folders we're in, because those are our folders.
they're essentially your folders.
It's not the only one uploading files. We're also.
Yeah. So that's why we kind of sorted them, so that and that way when you go to
Aren't they dated too?
yeah, I mean, it says 2 hours ago. It'll tell you when that document has been changed. So, and then on that course participant list, it does tell you all of your credit assignments. So just in case you don't have the printed documents that I sent you, or you always have this as a reference.
Also, if you download Dropbox on your desktop, you call up a call log that tells you what files have been updated within a certain period of time, where they are.
It's true. I get little, just like when your little Outlook email, you get a little reminder like someone just emailed you. I get these 2 files have been synced, or this file has been changed. So I don't know if that's what it looks like for you guys, but so I know.
You download it on your desktop. It doesn't do it if you're just using online.
I see. I see.
When you uploaded the waste report today, I got it 2 files synced 10 hours ago.
Okay. Yeah. So that would be another way that you could see what files are being updated. Okay. So we'll give it to Angelica from here, and then we'll do Q&A after. And I have everyone's certificates, so that you, I just figured some of you want to go ahead and take your exam before the 15th, so I wanted to just distribute those prior. Obviously, we want you to finish the course before. But, I think we're still recording. Okay. Okay, leave that up too, just in case we need it. Okay. I'll let you. Do you have a thingy? Oh, yeah. Oh, you don't have to. just hold it, put it down, whatever you're comfortable with. Okay. And then you should be able to just select your presentation, and it'll automatically share the screen. It's on your screen, a full screen. There we go. Okay.
All right. Hi, everybody. So tonight we're going to be talking about real nuts and bolts on the ground information about LEED rather than more kind of conceptual, broad, this is what sustainability is, this is why we do sustainability. So I will admit it's probably not the most exciting material that you've ever heard, but this is something that for me, I wish somebody would have told me, because it would have saved me hours and hours of work. LEED-Online is not the most intuitive system, which how many of you have actually signed on already to LEED-Online? Has anybody signed on? Okay, so just a few of you. So you've probably seen already, just trying to navigate through there is not quite as easy as the interface that maybe we're used to now with iPhones and things like that, where things come a lot more intuitively. So just a little bit of background about me. I'm the sustainability coordinator for the Sports and Exhibition Authority, and I was the project administrator for the Convention Center's LEED Team Building Certification. So we did have help from Evolve and also CJL, CNU provided some indoor air quality credits for us. But I, along with one intern, Melissa Kelly, would give her credit because she did a lot of work for us. We actually pulled together all the documentation. So other than GBA's office space, that was the only other LEED product experience that I had. And a little bit on the Consol Energy Center. I had done just a few credits there. So this was really, I was getting thrown into a really, really big project. The Convention Center did have a LEED for new construction rating. So it's kind of similar to this project where there was some baseline information. However, none of the information for the Convention Center was available electronically. It was all in some binders. A lot of the important credits were missing out of there, so I was creating a lot of information, not quite as nice as the situation as we have here. So.
No, ours is all in paper too.
Yeah, well, there wasn't even a LEED on. I mean, at that point, everybody submitted.
It was
that was you. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you created the electronic document.
We just scanned it.
It's not. Oh,
It's not as nice as yours.
Oh, great. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So it's a very similar situation.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So perfect. Here we go, LEED-Online. Okay. So I want to use an exclamation point because I really want to get people excited about this, even though it is, like I said, a very, very kind of dry topic. But this is the screen that you land on when you first go to LEED-Online. Do I stand over there? No. I'm going to squeeze it. Okay. Okay. So it's working now? This one. That one. Okay. So this is the screen that you land on. So up at the top where you're going to put in Janelle's email and password, right? They're using your information to sign in. So that's where you'll be entering all of that information. And it is just leedonline.com. So system requirements, Janelle alluded to this a little bit, but it's all very picky about what kind of program you can use to open. There's the requirements with Internet Explorer for Windows, but not all versions, like Janelle mentioned, will work. However, the browser that I was using here was actually an updated version of Internet Explorer, but if you hit this compatibility view that I have in a little orange square up there, that will allow you to use a more recent version of Internet Explorer. And when my IT person told me that, he saved my life. So, because it's really difficult to kind of get back to an older version if you already have a newer version. Also, some versions of Safari on Mac work as well. They do have a whole systems requirement page, so this is a really big problem for them. So if you sign on and you can't see anything, I don't even think will let you sign on to the next page if you're not using an appropriate browser. So this is my main page. I'm going to be working off of the Convention Center project.
just because all the documentation has already been uploaded. I pulled some letter templates that have already been completed. So what I want to do is walk you through kind of all of the important key components of LEED Online. And then after that, I was thinking we can all kind of pick a credit, and I could go through what we actually submitted for that credit to maybe do kind of one person's homework. Or I don't know, are there some credits that weren't assigned to people? We did a couple extra innovations to operations credits, but those are a little bit, vigorous right now, so we might just pick one credit, and then someone else might take the innovations and operations as a swap. Okay, yeah, that's great, and I am going to go through some innovations and operations stuff in here too that I think is important. This has been showing up quite as well as I hoped, so we'll just kind of roll with it. If we have any problems where people can't see what I'm showing, just let me know. I can just pull up the LEED Online. I think that this is just my file. Or we just move it back. Right? Oh yeah, you might make it a little bit bigger. Oh, that makes it smaller. Closer? Well, not too bad. I don't know. Control plus? Control and then plus. Is that better? All right. Is that better? Yeah, I think so. Hopefully this doesn't cut out some of my stuff, but we'll see. So as I'm going through this, please just feel free to stop me. I want this to be as interactive as possible, because I really want to make sure that you guys understand all of the different components before we end the night tonight. So the first thing is this project page, and this is where you'll land once you sign on to Janelle's, once you sign on to LEED Online. This is where it's going to land you, and you're first just going to click on the project title right there. So here I'm just kind of outlining things throughout this presentation in an orange square, so you can see, or a rectangle, so you can see what I'm actually trying to highlight. I figured this would be helpful if you need to come back to the presentation. So, it's showing like half. No, it's fine. I don't minimize it. Control minus? Yeah, I was sorry. Whatever the, I guess minus isn't a real. Can't make it smaller? Yeah, sorry about that, guys. So, the first page that it's going to bring you to is this overview page, and this is an example. This is obviously a convention center example, so we already are certified. But this page will show you kind of how many credits are being attempted, and also give any information about actionable items on here. This page is pretty much just your landing page. There really isn't a lot that you're going to be doing on this page until you're actually getting into the certification process, and then any alerts that you have will show up here. So the registration details, I wanted to point this out because Leslie had this problem. But if you click on the registration details page, it brings you to this, and this is actually CCI's page. So there's one question here that says, is this project confidential? A lot of projects choose to say yes here because they don't want people to know, when they've just registered, they don't want people to know they're planning to seek recertification. Because if you check yes, you automatically show up on a registered project list. But if you check no, then you don't. So one thing that I didn't realize is I had checked yes. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Just the other way.
Oh, right, other way around. Well, no, I had checked yes. So Leslie wasn't seeing. Right. So Leslie wasn't able to search for my project. So that's kind of an important thing. You want to keep it confidential. You can say yes, but make sure you change it to no at the end, or else people won't even know that you got certified.
Because in our specific GDA gets questioned a lot on like what are the newly certified buildings, or if some reporters want a full listing of all these certified projects. I'm not going to share, I guess, a full listing, but it'll say that it's confidential. So I can't really share with the reporter if it says that the project is confidential unless I track down every single, so I called Angelica and I said, do you mean for that to be confidential? Because I'm not going to tell them about it, and she's forgotten to check it almost everybody does. So that's
an important level kind of housekeeping item that I just wanted to bring up. The next page I want to go over is the team administration page. So this is the team administration page for the convention center. And when you click on the one for CCI, it will show a few, I think there's a few GDA folks on there, and Mark is on there. And this is important because of the, there's two things that are really important on here. One is the authorization level. So somebody's going to be the project administrator, which right now, which is Indigo. And she's going to have access to the entire project. So she can make changes to anything. She can mark credits as complete. She can also assign credits. So her role is really important. And as we figured out today, like Janelle didn't actually have access to a lot of the credits yet because Indigo is the one that actually has to let that happen. So, and that's actually shown just kind of two over here, there's a credit list. So if you click on this beside the name, it'll tell you what credits that person has assigned to them. So Indigo doesn't have to assign herself to those credits. She has access to everything. But if she wants to add somebody like Janelle to every credit, she'll have to go in and do that manually, which isn't the easiest, but can be done. This next one is one that got me. The project role column is really important. There are some signatures that need to happen on some of these letter templates, and if you don't have the right roles assigned here when you sign off on those, it won't count you as an authorized signer. So my problem was that I never designated myself as owner for the project. So when I was signing off on things, it was just showing that some random Angelica Serrani girl had signed off and not the actual owner of the facility. So a lot of our credits, and I'm going to go through a few on our lead review sheet, on our preliminary review, and a lot of them we didn't get because the authorized signature was incorrect. So I had to fix that before final review. So that's important because there's some facility operators, mechanical engineers, things like that that need to sign off on some of the credits. Okay, the next, this is where you're going to spend most of your time on the scorecard page. And I'm just, again, kind of highlighting things in rectangles that where I'm clicking so you can see how I'm getting to these pages. This will have a full listing of all of the credits that are being attempted by the project. So I'm not sure if you guys have actually gone in and defined which credits you're attempting versus not attempting, or just all of them in there right now. Do you know?
All of the assigned credits, good question. In there, I don't think that, I think that it's the whole list of all the credits versus just the credits that the student is talking about.
Okay. Yeah, so at some point somebody will be going in here before you hit submit, you'll be going in and deactivating credits that you're not attempting. So there may be, I'm sure that there's definitely a few that you won't be attempting, and that just kind of cleans it up here. And I think I do have CCI SCORECARD. So here I do. And here's the status column. I wanted to show this one because this is no longer on the Convention Center page, but there's this kind of status column here with these blank check marks. Once one of these credits is complete, those check marks turn green, I believe. So this is where it becomes important to make sure that all of the credits aren't listed here if you're not actually planning to attempt them. So assigning credits, this is the question that we had just as you're coming in to know if you would see things. So where you can assign the credits is right here in the assignee column. So you just click on assign, and then it'll give you the list of your team members, and you click on who you'd like to assign that credit to and save it. So it is, and Mark, maybe I'm wrong here. I don't know how, do you get down into these level of detail being online? I'm not sure if you do, but
I try not to.
you probably should. But I don't think there's an easier way to do this. I just tried to do it another way. I don't think that there is. I think you're going to actually have to go in each individual credit and assign it.
Yes, you assign the credits.
But I thought that maybe you could do it from the team administration page and like click on which credits you wanted to assign each person, but I couldn't get that to work. So I think.
Oh, it used to work.
Well, I tried to do that on there, so you could try again, but this is the kind of more difficult way to do it, and it does take a lot of time. Read online is pretty slow moving, so that process may take some time. And you go, I'll check one more time and see if there's an easier way before we leave today.
Since you're working off of the server, everything you get saved. Every step you take takes 5, 10 seconds. Could even be longer if there's a do. And also, it's preferable to work in the morning because in the afternoon, that's when the West Coast is waking up and they're all working on it. So.
Yeah, that's really true. I didn't even, yeah, that's a really good point. I didn't even remember to bring up. There is definitely a lot of lag time when you want to get the page, kind of like a little circle that's always in the middle telling you to wait. So this is the page where you can assign credits, like I mentioned. You just put check marks by whoever should be assigned there. So to get to the actual credit information, you click just on the credit name, and it will bring you to this page, which is the credit information page. And there's a few important things here. The first one are kind of these in progress and complete icons that you see. So the credit will be marked in progress until you're actually done with it, and then you'll mark it as complete. And there's kind of a few different steps you have to do to mark it as complete. But those are actually pretty intuitive, and I didn't have access to be able to show you how to do that. But you can see that underneath there in red, it says this form is marked as complete, so then you can't make edits after that. The only person that will be able to make edits will be Indigo, and she'd have to mark it back as in progress in order to do that. These are, I know, really, these are down in the weeds details, but still very important. So this is what a letter template looks like, or a form. Have you guys seen the form yet for your credit? How many of you have seen the form?
The forms that I printed out and handed to you at the last session.
Oh,
These are those forms.
Okay.
So you'll actually, those forms were just working documents that you can reference to or write notes on. These forms you're actually going to download from the online. You're going to check what you need to, and then you're going to save it. So, but yeah, it's an actual live document.
Yeah, it's just a live Adobe document. So you're going to be pulling these directly from LEED Online. You can't actually save them, work on them, and then upload them. It doesn't work like that. You have to do it all on the LEED Online server. There are uploads that are separate file uploads, which we'll see in just a second. But that's a really important thing. And then at the end of the day, when you're done with all of your documentation and you want to save these, maybe in kind of a, your server just at your workplace or whatever, you can download them at that time and they won't be editable. So you won't be able to make any more changes to them. And some of these forms link to other documents throughout other credits. So anything that's highlighted in yellow here, that means that they're linked across a bunch of different forms. And we'll get to that in a second. So here's an example of a letter template for MR Credit 7, Solid Waste Management Ongoing Consumables. This is the actual credit that we had for the convention center. In the square there, I have the performance period information. I know Mark talked about performance periods last week, but all of the performance periods need to end within, I think, a week of one another. So if the ends are kind of, they all have to happen at the same time. But as far as the beginning of the performance period, those can slide back. There's a minimum of 3 months for most of them, 12 months for the energy usage. But you can slide back the whole way to 2 years if that helps with some of your credits. So, for example, last week when I asked you if you guys were planning or had done any facility alterations or if you've gotten furniture and things like that, I know we've talked about some of the furniture that we got donated from Oxford. Mm-hmm. So, depending on when that happened, you would want to capture that in your performance period because that would help with some of the MR credits since you're reusing furniture. So it's like those little quirks. It's really credit to credit that you have to decide what your performance period is since you're going for your initial certification. Now, when you go for recertification, it doesn't work like that. You have to use your full time period between your previous certification and your recertification. So you can't kind of game the system a little or work the system, I guess, when you're going for recertification.
Isn't this a recertification?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, but I thought you were starting from, I thought you were starting anew because you didn't have the credits, because a lot of the credits weren't the same. I don't understand that.
So I think the distinguishing factor is a lot of the prerequisites, because it's been over 5 years, those have to be resubmitted. But if you do something within a 2-year time frame, some of those credits don't need to be resubmitted. Because you're ongoing and it's such a close timeline that you just submit some new documentation of your performance period and things like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. But that's where I think
yeah, so I actually misunderstood.
Theoretically, it shouldn't be. It's been 9 years, but I thought Aurora got an interpretation saying you guys can treat it as a recertification for some reason.
So we CBC told us to do it as recertification, but how we went back and forth about
It's
which is more beneficial to us,
right,
and included the trial for research that we're saying we're just
Well, we have to declare one.
What the CCC is going to do, because this was one of the first projects to recertify, right? They were going to allow it as a recertification, but they wanted CCI to complete all the documentation as if it was a new.
Right.
But they're going to consider a recertification rather than just a second EBOM certification.
Okay, I know that is a little
That's a little
confusing, but I
tricky,
think
but I understand what you're saying. So I was actually just on a lead user webinar this afternoon.
We're on that one too, it's good.
It was really good about
They
lead
talked about these very.
They did, and one of the things I think people were really drilling down on is, you know, if you're going to a new version, a lot of your information is really the same, like, how much does it really matter if you're being recertified or actually certified again? I don't know that it really makes too much of a difference if there's a lot of new credit information that you're putting in, and all of that kind of stuff. But there were a lot of questions about dates for recertification and things
Well,
like that.
one of the problems with recertifying is that all your performance traits have to be pictures extrapolated over 5 years. They have to be at least 12 months. And the benefit of an initial certification is that they can be 3 months, which is what this project is counting on. So that's one benefit.
Right, and so really, I mean, the only main benefit for recertification is that you don't have to pay for registration. That there used to be that kind of you only pay half, I think, for the recertification, but they don't do that anymore, which I didn't know. I didn't know that for the actual certification fees. So.
Well, plus you won't have to redo in your case, the convention center, you won't have to redo the establishment.
Right. And that's a little different though, because we certified under the 2.0 and the LEED-EBOM, there was a really big change that happened there. So that's why it's a little bit more complicated, obviously, because we just spent like 5 or 10 minutes talking about it. So it's very complicated. So, and it's funny, because we were just having this conversation in a webinar earlier today. So I mentioned this already, but anything that's highlighted links to another credit. So that means that there's one place where you're actually defining this. A lot of the times it's in the project information form. So those been assigned as well, or are they just credits that have been assigned?
the project information forms, no, I would find those. So some of you got prerequisite. I try to give everyone a prerequisite. If you didn't get a prerequisite, you got a project information form.
Okay, we're going to go through project information forms a little bit into a little bit more information, just because those really set the tone for your entire LEED application. And if you don't get that information correct, that's not good, because everything is dependent on that.
No pressure.
No pressure. But like FTEs and your square footage information, if you have those variations or anomalies between credits, they will definitely catch that. And we have one of those in our application that they caught. Not on purpose, obviously. The other thing that you can do in a letter template is right in the summary page, there's a little button beside this that says check compliance. You can click that after you think that you've completed the form, and it will tell you if you filled out or provided all the information that you need. So it's not just about clicking the boxes, filling out the information, it's also the file upload. So if it's expecting that you provide 2 uploads, it's gonna check that when it's checking your compliance. Actually mine says no, but that was for a reason.
It does it automatically.
There's a little button where you click, which is check compliance, yeah. It's actually cut off. So save your form, this is so important. It doesn't just happen automatically. The save button is at the bottom of each page of the template. Don't forget to save your form, because you can put a lot of work into these, and if you just go back to the scorecard, the information will be gone forever. So save early, save often.
And you should save it at each page individually?
No, just save before you navigate away. But very important, also learn that one part. File upload. So this is kind of the next thing, because we went through the credit information already, which is where you want to check in progress, complete. Then we went through the form, which we're going to go into a little bit more detail in the end about the forms. The next button there is file uploads. So like I said, there are required uploads for many of the credits. In this case, it's the solid waste management policy that was the required upload. So the form is going to check that I put something there. Doesn't matter what you call it.
or anything like that. It's not checking file names, but it is just checking to make sure something's been uploaded. And it actually won't let you complete the credit and click that complete button until everything is uploaded as it should be. So there are some credits that have no uploads, but most of them have one or two. So. The other important thing on the credit information page is if you're attempting a regional priority credit. So you're all familiar, I think, with regional priority credit. Okay. So if you want to attempt that, you need to click this box. So for example, this is the same credit, solid waste management ongoing consumable, which is a designated regional priority credit for Pittsburgh. So since I knew I was going to be getting that credit, I had to check that box there and say attempt regional credit. If you don't do that, it won't just automatically give you the credit.
I will also say on the scorecard sheet, the overall sheet, it should have a little regional priority icon.
Oh, right. I
So,
have that on the first page.
well, we can, I don't know.
I can show you. I don't know why it's giving you like two sides rather than one side. But this little orange magnifying glass guy designates, I don't really know if that's what it is or not, but that's what designates it as a regional priority credit. So those of you that have regional priority credits, those are twice as important as the words of additional credit. Alternative compliance. I wanted to bring this up. I'm not sure how relevant this is to this building in particular, although I'm sure at some point some of these credits might have alternative compliance paths. And you use this path if you are meeting the spirit of the credit, but you're doing it through some kind of alternative means. So for example, in this scenario, I believe this is water use. Yes. So at the convention center, we have an on-site wastewater treatment plant, and we use reclaimed water from agricultural soils and urinals. There is not currently, or there was not currently, a place to show that on the credit form for the water use reduction. So what I had to do was submit additional documentation about the wastewater treatment plant and show that we're actually reducing over and above what the credit was asking for because of this extra system. So this is probably kind of an extreme example of alternative compliance, but LEED doesn't, the CDC doesn't want to trip you up if you're meeting these credits and spirits of credits. If you're doing what you really should be doing to meet the credit requirements, they want to provide this kind of alternative if you do so. So this was one that they actually accepted right away, which you'll see was not the case with most of our credits. There was a lot more work to be done after preliminary review. They were happy with this one. One other thing I want to bring up, I don't know how many of you, although I heard a lot of people say architect today, there is a licensed professional exemption in EBOM 2003. And it's available to LEED professionals up there, and it's only for selected credits, and for EBOM, it's only in selected credits for sustainable sites and IEQ. So one example I think that they provided on our website was for outdoor air delivery monitoring, where if you were just a regular old person, you would need to provide like cut sheet information on the type of sensors that you're using, maybe some data as well to show that you're meeting the requirements of the credit. But if you're one of these folks, if you're a professional engineer in that situation, you would be able to just sign off on the credit without providing additional documentation. So I'm sure that that's helpful in some situations, although I haven't been able to reap the benefits of that. Mark, maybe you can ever use this?
We've never done it.
We've never done it either.
We've just never figured it was worth the hassle. Conventions on what they're supposed to be doing is easier than what it really is, and why are we doing it? We're really not hiding anything. We just figured things we need to do.
Well, so maybe in practice it's something you might not ever use, but it might be on the test. so you should probably know it for that. I wanted to go through a few of the project information forms just because these are so critical. As I mentioned again, no pressure. But project information information form 1, which I'm not showing up here. Does anybody actually have that one? Form 1.
Yeah, that is, what's it called, project,
Oh no, this is project information form 2.
I have Form 2.
I'm guessing no one has form 1 because it's really just a check off box.
minimum project, minimum requirement.
Yeah.
That's actually forward.
Okay, well that's okay, because that's a really easy one. And that one's just basically checking off that you meet the minimum program requirements and providing, I believe, a signature on that page as well, where it's, again, really important that you're designated in the proper role in order to make that signature. This one is project information form 2, and this one has to do with the building area square footage, some site characteristics, the type of energy that you use, so whether you're using natural gas or maybe district steam in the case of the convention center, electricity, obviously, any renewable sources that you're using on site, as well as, I believe, your water sources are on here in the budget information for the original construction. This gross floor area is really important because it's throughout the entire application. The other important thing on the floor area is making sure that it matches with an Energy Star portfolio manager, because they could cross-reference that, and we just want to make sure that it all matches up. Because this gross floor area, which you can't really see, but it says about 1.2 million, even though the convention center sells for 1.5 million, about 300,000 square feet is not conditioned space, either parking garage or floating dock area that's not conditioned. So that's not counted in the gross floor area calculation. So that, it does actually say that in kind of the fine print under there, but I wanted to just draw your attention to it because, again, this is an area where we can get tripped up pretty quickly if you're not paying attention to it. Form number 3 is related to the space use type and the occupant information. Has the FTE calculation already been completed for the building? Or? I don't know if that was information that was, I didn't see what you actually provided already.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did the calculation, but it wasn't like a question calculation for example.
Right, it's really straightforward for this building. You know where it's not straightforward? The convention center. So this was probably something that seems like it would have been a really easy task. Like, yeah, tell me what the FTEs are. I think maybe evolve. I could ask the Steve Hopkins, like, what are the FTEs? And I actually thought that was going to be an answer that I could just provide, but it was not. We actually had to do a lot of research about exactly how to calculate that, because we have so many transient people coming into the building, and it's not just transient convention attendees, but it's also transient employees, because we can go from 40 employees to 200 employees depending on what our event schedule looks like. So that was really, you can see there's kind of an entitlement to the complex occupancy, and that's where we had to provide additional information on our FTEs, and I think they actually asked us for even more information after that. But this is important for your water use credit, your alternative transportation credit, all those things. So it's important to get this right. Same with the space usage type. Again, this should match. This should match what you have on Energy Star Portfolio Manager. So ours is office, convention center, food service, and what I would call warehouse space, which is really just unconditioned storage space in the convention center. But this matches directly with our Energy Star Portfolio Manager profile. Project information form 4, sorry. Project information form 4 is, this one is actually another kind of difficult one to do because you need to provide a lot of photos, drawings, schedules for your HVAC system, I believe is on this one, mechanical schedules, yeah. So depending on how big your project is, it can be a pretty large task. For this building, you're probably kind of fortunate because it's a more contained, there's only one person really operating the building. In our case, there are lots of different moving parts. We have some third parties managing things for us, so this is where it became a little bit complicated. There's also the schedule that's provided on this page, and this shows your earliest performance period start date, your latest performance period end, and then also the date that you're planning to submit all of your documentation. So it doesn't have to be 100% accurate here on day one, but you can't quite see the dates there, but we have September 30th as our last performance period date in 2011, and we submitted all of our documentation by November 29th, which was in that 60-day window that you have between the end of the performance period and actually submitting. I don't recommend that you ever do this around Thanksgiving or Christmas. That's probably a really bad idea. It's not a really good idea at the time, but I wouldn't do that because, you know, everything is always kind of down to the wire, and getting people to get information when they're not even in the office was not a fun task. Finally, project information form 5. This is where the lead document or the lead certificate would be uploaded here, and you would show that you have the previous certification. And this is what gives you access to the first credit and sustainment. Do you have a question, Kathy?
Yes. On the date issue, I'm assuming that you would want to give yourself the largest window possible outside your performance period, because if you submit early, that's okay. Is there a penalty if you submit late?
So you have 60 days between the end of your performance period and submitting.
So if you put in earlier, if you say you put a date of 30 days after your performance period, are you going to be penalized if you after that date?
I actually wouldn't do that. This form, I think it probably started out saying like July 2010, and we just have to change it back until we were actually able to submit. Yeah, you are changing it. We started this process. Well, we brought you guys on board when? In 2009, early 2010, maybe?
Yeah, but our original scope wasn't this.
It was a full case study, right? But you were kind of, the information you're providing, feeding into what we were doing here. But it did end up, just to kind of give you an idea of how it can work. I first got we have to do EBOM in November of 2008, and we actually got our certification in April of 2012. So it was a very long, very, very, very long process, but obviously worthwhile. One other thing on the letter templates that I want to point out is the exemplary performance. So you're able to claim exemplary performance on 3 credits, and for your innovations and operations credits. And you get, does anybody know how you qualify for exemplary performance on a credit? Okay, well, I'll tell you then. You qualify by either doubling what the percentage is that they're asking for in that credit, or if it's a credit that say you get 1 point for 20%, 2 points for 30%, if you provide that 40%, then you get the exemplary performance for that credit. That's all spelled out in either the reference guide or I'm guessing it's in the reference guide, but it also will show you within the template if you qualify. So the second line here, right above the rectangle, that actually says you qualify for exemplary performance on MR credit 2 or whatever, and it would say yes if you provided the appropriate percentage. And then you would need to check here if you want to actually save one of your innovation and operations credits for this particular exemplary performance. Because there's going to be cases where maybe you have exemplary performance on 5 credits, but you know that you can only use 3 of those for your innovations and operations. So you would only be checking the box on 3 of them, not all 5 of them. And what I would recommend that you do there is you take the 3 that you're most solid on, because you know there's 2 points riding on it instead of just the 1. So that's important. So this is an example of what the innovation and operations credit looks like if you decide to go with exemplary performance for it. So you see that I've kind of checked the box there of exemplary performance, and then there's a drop down that will allow me to select from the credits where I've checked that box saying reserve one of the credits for exemplary performance. So you can see that there, and then you just give it a title and hit save, and then you can go back to the scorecard. The other innovations and operations credits there's a whole slew of them that you can select from. One good strategy is to look at the pilot credits that are available for LEED for existing buildings, and you're able to use one of those pilot credits for an innovation and operations credit if you like. There's also the kind of path that you can kind of forge your own path, I guess, and decide to do whatever type of innovative credit. I'm going to call them IO credits because I'm tripping myself up saying that means a little. You can decide whatever you want to do for the IO credit. In this situation here, we decided, and this is a very popular one, to do a comprehensive outreach program or an educational program, for example, would be a good option for CCI. Originally, this was much easier to get than it is now. You have to provide a lot of information, and I think you have to show Janelle, maybe you know how this works. You have to show, or Mark, one of you, if you're doing an education program, there has to be like more than one way to be introduced. Like it has to be signage and tours, or a website, and
it's quantifiable. It can't just be this arbitrary, hey, we're going to have education, right? It's something that can be quantified, and we're going to reach this many people over the year, or things like that. Like you have the recycling, the battery recycling, and all of that in your lobby. Like that could potentially be a quantifiable innovation operation. Like we, collected X amount of batteries every year, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I mean, really though, CCI Center didn't give a credit for that. I don't know what would, because you guys have so many educational components here. So it's really just making sure that you're highlighting all of them. Don't just say that you
tenant versus ERC.
And
It's in the building.
But it's still part of the building, yeah. Because you're not planning to do any tenant exemptions, are you?
no,
Censored up or more. Okay, so yes, then you can definitely use that. But for example, for our comprehensive outreach program, we included the signage that we have in the building, the tours that I did and some other folks did at the convention center, and also the website information, how many website hits we have self-link form. So we just put all that information there. We didn't get questions, but I know that this form is definitely, like Janelle said, it has to be quantifiable. It can't just be this conceptual, yeah, we're going to tell people how green we are type thing. Okay, so I'm going to get into the review report next, but are there any basic questions on LEED Online? These are the things we went over. We're still going to go through a credit at the end, but don't be shy if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer them. Because I think, going through one of the credits will probably bring up some additional questions, or some questions, I guess, if there weren't any.
Once you're done with, say, inputting your information, how long, if you had, say, a review, like a group review, you're just to kind of preliminarily make sure everything's the way it should be, how long would it take? You think? Would it take hours and hours to go through?
You mean to actually review all the documentation, like an internal review?
Yeah.
I mean, Mark probably has an hour number to that. They do it all the time.
A full day?
Yeah, I mean, depending on the credits you're looking for.
Yeah.
Because it takes a while to open up every screen.
Yeah, right.
To look at every dialog box and to see what's been uploaded and
Yeah.
make sure that the files didn't get garbled. Especially if you're checking over other people's work.
Right, because you basically show the place where you're assigning people work, and so then when you bring it all back together, conceptually.
Yeah, and I think it depends too on who are the players involved, because for us, this was not like my full-time job, obviously. So I was just doing a little bit at a time. So I would focus on single type credit or one particular credit, and I was focusing on that, working with interns, with all providing us with some information as well. So our process maybe took longer than it would if you just had a consultant that was doing all the for you, because they're probably, a lot of their time would be spent getting the information to start with, but once they had it, they're kind of a well-oiled machine where they do this all the time, so they know exactly what to be including for the credits, where I was really guessing. Thank God for LEED User, because LEED User is like a really invaluable resource that really helps me through the process.
And I would say that the reviewers at the end of it are looking just like you would write a paper or if you're going to write a short story, you want it to have the same narrative, you want it to have the same language. So it's very similar to that. So you all are writing a paragraph or two, and at the end, that whole paragraph, that whole story needs to come together as a cohesive document. So at the end, the project reviewer would go through and take a day to make sure that all the language speaks the same, as well as, you know, all of the square footage, the FTEs, all of that, all work together. Otherwise, the reviewers are going to see holes in the documentation, and that's when they're going to start questioning and saying, nah, I probably don't get this credit. So that is a way where when you have one cohesive package, it kind of takes some of that questioning out of that process. Just as an overall. So yeah, I think a day, at least a day.
Yeah, depending on how familiar you were and how familiar the people were that actually did the documentation. There were also some folks from the convention center management company, SMG, that did some of these credits for me. But again, it was making sure that what they're saying is matching what I'm saying and that everything's consistent, which can take some time.
When I did it for the Point Park concession stand, we did the same experience for Point Park. That took me about a week. But I was, you know, taking 4 hours here. I didn't have like a consolidated, here's a whole week's work on it. But I mean, I calculated all my hours and probably took about 40 hours. So, you know, I was the only one doing it.
And you were just reviewing?
I was just reviewing all of the students' work, and I wasn't part of the process at the beginning, so I was kind of stepping in on the back end and trying to catch up. So that probably added several hours as well, but just to give you some sort of scope. Yeah.
But the interesting thing about going through this whole process, and I think probably one of the biggest benefits, other than like the marketing and things like that, which is probably what people mostly talk about, and energy savings and whatever, but is that we really got to know our building in a way that we didn't before. And I think that, I know that was certainly true for me. I think that we thought we had a good grasp on everything we were doing, but until you get down into all of these types of details, you don't realize. I don't know, I also think it was a good kind of team building effort because I also got to know different people that had different functions throughout the organization and exactly what they were doing. And I got to find out a lot of really great things, and I know we've all uncovered a lot of really great things that we didn't even know were happening. And it's also been a trying but rewarding process collecting all of this information moving forward. We're still trying to, our eye is at recertification. From the day we got the certification, we started thinking, okay, now what do we have to do to make sure that we keep the certification moving forward? What kind of mechanisms are we going to put into place? How are we going to collect the data? And one way that we've done that is we started doing, well, we were already doing the green report, but not quite in the level of detail that we are now. We do an annual green report, so every year everyone's accountable for providing me with the data that I need. And that's how we're trying to set ourselves up for success in recertification in 2017, which is coming faster, faster than we think. So after you do all of that and you mark everything complete, and you're like sick to your stomach before you hit submit, you do all of that, and then it just kind of goes off into to a lead reviewer's hands. And I think the process for us to receive our preliminary review was maybe 2.5 months. It wasn't that long. And then you get the email that it's like, your review is complete, and you're like, oh my God. And you get this review report. I want to mention that USGBC has since updated what these review reports look like, and I do have another example of my review report that I got for our office-based commercial interior certification. So they have addressed these formatting issues that you'll see in this particular review report. But the most important thing, of course you can't really see it, is what I've highlighted there that says how many credits were submitted, how many points were awarded or anticipated under the preliminary review, and then how many points are pending. They can also straight out deny points in the first round, but they probably add in a law when you do that. Because there's probably still a lot of room for you to provide additional information. They try to give you the benefit of the doubt. So you go through the review report, and it goes credit by credit, and explains to you exactly, they kind of spit back the information to you. So they say, here's an example of what was awarded. So points attempted, 1, points awarded, 1. And then there's still a comment section for the ones that were awarded, and kind of explain what they saw, their understanding of the documentation that you provided, and making sure that they reviewed it, obviously, and that they are in agreement that what you provided them was enough to get that credit. So these are the fun ones. You like check off, and you're like, okay, that one was awarded. We had a lot of pending credits, which I certainly attribute to the fact that I was so lazy when I was doing this. But
They all do.
okay, well, good. Maybe okay, so it's not just me. But some of the pending credits, I'm gonna show you a few more examples after we're done with the one that I have here. But some of them are really down into minutia detail, and I think it probably depends a lot on the lead reviewer that you get. And I think we're gonna have more information on that at some point, right?
Yeah, Elena Goldstein is now involved, but used to be a reviewer. Is actually going to come in and give you all candid feedback on your credit. So she's going to talk about that process, so that'll be really, really great insight, because I don't know how many people have that experience. I think anyone that's ever worked on a project would love to have this experience.
Yeah.
So you all are pretty lucky that she's willing to do that for us. So yeah, she'll talk about the minutia and what that all means.
Right. So just like anything that you're submitting, these people are human. So some of them, are definitely scrutinized to a higher level than other credits. I certainly noticed that with the credits that either were awarded or were pending. But here you can kind of read, they spit back the information and say, here's what you provided to us. And then there's this really important part that says technical advice. And it tells you exactly what you need to do to meet their requirements. So they are not kind of like, oh, it doesn't need it because we don't think that you gave information on this. It's like, in order to get this, you need to provide this document, you need to show this percentage. So it's very, very distinct. So in this case, this is for our fundamental refrigerant management credit. It says, please provide a form to include all refrigeration equipment that contains 0.5 or more pounds of refrigerant, or provide a narrative indicating that no commercial refrigeration equipment is utilized in the building. So the reason why we got that response was because the only refrigerant information that we provided in the original documentation was on our chiller plant, and they knew that we had like food service equipment, and we knew that too, but we didn't realize that the amount of refrigerant we had in that equipment qualified for this credit. So this one was a huge pain in the butt, because we had to go, you can imagine how many ice machines, refrigerators, walk-in freezers, coolers, and things like that we had in the building. And we had to go to every single one and inventory them, and then try to find cut sheets, go to figure out how much refrigerant was in them. We found out which ones were exempt, which ones weren't. So this one was probably what took us the most time to respond back. But you can see that the advice here really tells us what we need to do. They don't just say you don't get it because you didn't provide it. So here's an example of how we address some of the changes. Okay, this is for the same credit. We checked the box in the additional details section, which is right above the alternative compliance section. This is special circumstances for food documentation, blah, 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 blah. So we checked that box so we could give a little bit of an explanation on what we did to update the credit. Because there really aren't a lot of mechanisms to respond directly back to these comments at this time, at least. We also provided some additional uploads. So here's the information on how we addressed it, and then we provided all of the additional documentation that they requested. So you do all of that, and I think they tell you that you have like 2 weeks. I don't know how long, 30 days. I don't know, but they're really good about that.
25 days.
but they're really loose about that, is what I've gotten. I think it's good though to just go by that hard and fast deadline so you get all the information back from everybody. But I think we did end up going over a little bit, just because of some of the more difficult credits that we needed to document. So this is an example of the final report, and what I've outlined here is how many credits were submitted, how many points were awarded, and how many points were denied. And you can see that we had 84 that were awarded and 1 that was denied. That one was one that we knew we weren't going to get, but you throw some things out there because there's always a chance that you're going to, you know, hit the right reviewer and you're going to provide enough information to them that they're going to accept the credit. So if you think that there's, you know, any chance that you might get the credit, it really is worth it to just pull the documentation together and submit it, because we had a few that stuck that I was a little shaky on by going through that alternative compliance path that I mentioned earlier. So definitely try it, because you can be successful in that effort. So the last thing before we get to one of the credits that I want to mention is on the post-certification. This isn't something that's on your test, but just important, because if you're working on a LEED project, at the end you're going to want to promote it and talk about what you've done after you accepted your certification. And Mark mentioned last week that there is also the option that you can appeal credits. I've never been through that process, so I don't know if that's like, is it similar to submitting like the documentation that you submit?
Well, it's a little different, because what you're showing is that you have a difference of opinion with the reviewer, and you believe you're right enough to spend it's $500 or $800 for an energy credit. And so what the SGBC will do is the SGBC kind of regulates the credit. They'll assign it to a reviewer who's reviewing everything. There's 12 different teams or so. But then when you're saying we want to appeal this, the SGBC will assign that particular credit to a different reviewer who will hear you out. And they kind of need to be brought up to speed a little bit on your project, and they need to understand what the issue is. And they want to understand the logic of the reviewer who denied you, and then they want to hear your logic as to why you think you're right.
Do they talk to you directly, or are you just providing them more documents?
Well, that's starting to become a little more permeable. It used to be a total black box, but now they are establishing more relationships. Like we're part of a proven provider program where we'll actually talk to reviewers. It used to be remote.
Yeah, but what about late people?
Well, I mean, I say that half just because they say you can request a conversation if you want. You go over on the GBCI frequently asked questions page, and on the bottom of that there's a link that says contact us, and on the bottom of that page there's you can request you have to do a query, but then if you look on there you can click a box that says I request a call. And if you're going to talk to them, you want to make sure that you have an agenda. They prefer for you to have an agenda, so you're not just calling on the phone and saying, so what's going on? But they know exactly what you want to talk about. But that's different than an appeal. An appeal is much more formal, whereas this is an opinion that a reviewer will give you if you talk to them on the phone. So it's great to have the opinion of the reviewer who's telling you what they think, but they're always very careful to say, but that's just my opinion. Whereas a CIR is an actual part, becomes part of the body of LEED. It's almost like law. It becomes part of the precedent that you can refer to. So they're much more careful, and that's why they charge the money, is because they need to spend that time considering it in the whole sphere of LEED. Is what they're very nervous about. Is you can understand there's how many thousands of projects get registered every month, and if they make a single exception for one because the reviewer happened to be in a good mood that morning, that it doesn't perpetuate across the whole brand. So they're very careful about it, and they'll say, that what you're saying makes a lot of sense. Let me run it by my peer reviewers and see if they agree with me too. So that you don't want to do an appeal if you don't have to. It costs money, it takes time. But at the same time, an opinion is just that. It's an opinion which gives you guidance that doesn't necessarily provide guidance. You don't have to do it. We just now, bringing it up, we were doing preliminary submission with Energy Model. We did a submission, And as with most energy models, the reviewer will bring up about a dozen items of what they want to see right. We've had as many as like 30 items in a single energy model. So, the energy model did their best, but now there were 3 items. And so we denied the credit because we didn't pass it on the second try and we only get 2 tries. So now we're having a conversation with them saying, this is outrageous. How can you deny us when we've done everything right? So it's that kind of thing where they're obligating us to actually appeal the review or the energy model anyway, just because they didn't see it.
That's really interesting. I didn't know anything about that process, so that's really interesting. I'm also curious though how LEED user has affected credit interpretation rulings. Like, do they see less of them because there is like a forum where there wasn't previously, or is that still?
The SGBC has been real supportive of LEED user, and I don't know if we talked about it last time, but LEED review is a product of environmental building LEED, and so it's actually a forum by practitioners and like the angelists, like our guest experts who answer questions. So it's great because it's a perfect place to go, because when you've got a question, chances are someone's asked that. Prior to that, all you had was a CIR, a credit interpretation ruling request library, and you had to hope someone had asked a question, and it was chronological. Finally it became searchable, which takes a lot of time. But even so, now they're a little bit opaque. So the fact that LEED user exists has really broadened the conversation. But it's very useful because you'll get somebody like John Becker or Marcus Shepherd or Paladino saying, or Tristan Roberts, saying, no, we've tried this before, and what the reviewers really want to see is this or that. So it's very useful.
And it's actually, LEED user, there's a link. I can show you later. On your SGBC in the LEED credit library, there is, after each credit on the right-hand side, there's a blue button for LEED user, so your SGBC directly links to LEED user. So, yeah, they definitely recommend that people use it. It's really good.
Or pick some of the burden off of that.
Exactly, yeah, sure. So again, we're just driving home like the user is so helpful, and you should definitely be using it for your credits here and in the future. It's really helpful. There's forums for every credit on all 3 that are moderated, like Mark said, as an expert. They can answer your questions. So, invaluable. What I wanted to mention on the recertification page, this is really details here, but there is this information on public relations guidelines and logo requests. I am into those kinds of details where I want to make sure I'm saying was LEED certified correctly, when you're capitalizing certified or not, and all those types of things when you're using the copyright. And that kind of stuff is important when you're doing press releases, because you want to look like you're doing it correctly. And if you go into these, there's also some quotes that you can take, you can use for press releases and things like that. So you can also do logo requests to get your logo if you want to put it on your website or things like that. So useful information for your marketing goods. And then you invite the mayor and the county executive to Senator Fontana and
Kimberly Williams.
Yeah, from the CDC to come and present your plan to you. That is the end of the story. So really funny though, before we get into one of the credits, so getting the plaque and actually having the plaque, I thought was a really big deal because I've never gotten to that part of the project before. So right before the mayor and the county executive came, I was trying to make sure everything was perfect out there. I had the plaque on an easel. I had like a blanket, a tablecloth over top of it, so they could kind of pull the tablecloth off, and hooray, we got the certification. No one knew that we had platinum certification when we did the press conference. And while I was doing that, the easel opened up and the plaque fell onto our new green roof terrace papers, and it like made a really big mess in the plaque, and we ended up having to get it up. So don't do what I did. You get to hold the platform on tight and do it on my calendar or something like that. But it was funny because when I went to get Kimberly, I told her what happened. So I was just like completely flabbergasted. Of course, this is all on security footage, so everybody that I work with got to see it. And even though I was doing the other one, so yeah, they
Probably on YouTube.
yeah, it was really bad because I thought it was just me and like 3 or 4 other people out there, so I thought I was off the hook. But yeah, there's a camera out there, so everyone could see it. So I get to continually relive that moment. But when I told Kimberly about it, she was like, "Oh my God, you told me on the glass." And I was like, "No, it's the metal one." So she thought that I had completely shattered it. So you should get the metal one, and you should open hold on carpet. Or like, yeah. So I want to go through though one of the credits, if you guys are interested in doing that. Oh yeah, go for it.
I have a question.
Yeah,
You said
sure.
$5 or $800 to do an appeal, was that per credit?
Yeah,
credit
it's per
one.
credit, but if you have others that are linked to it, so for instance, the energy prerequisite, which leads to the energy model, which leads to the green power, which leads to the renewable energy, you can get all those with just one credit.
Oh, I see.
Or one, the energy.
Because they rely.
Because they're all, but that's the $800 one. It's a little more complex.
Wow.
So are there any other questions before we do a credit?
I was going to ask if anyone has any inkling of what might achieve an exemplary performance credit on this project. Is there anything ideas? Where this building really excel? But to do that, you have to get more than energy source.
It's already what, at 97% out of, right?
That's still a long continuum. Because what Angelica was saying about the exemplary performance is you have to exceed the threshold of incremental. What else would it be?
Education and outreach, but I don't know how much
That's just an innovation point, but that's no example. You'll surely do that. The standard is 75%. If you get 95%, you could. Although this building, it's a little rough because we've got interior spaces there. And we've got spaces there. Waste. Ooh, there's a good one.
What about like heat island effects?
What's that?
Heat island effects for the roof.
The roof? We've got pavers up there. I don't know if those are all an SRI. At least 30, at least 29. Yeah, they're concrete, which is good.
I'm hoping green clean products because there's green clean house.
Yeah, definitely.
Based on the percentage of purchase.
Yeah, I would think that one, because I think the threshold is 30%. So I would.
Which is going to make the 75%.
Right,
even work.
which is very important. And I was actually thinking about that because, so we, at the convention center, we use about 65% of our total green, or heating materials are green, but we're also using that Orbio machine with the water that we electrolyze or whatever, right? So we're not counting that in the purchasing number, and I'm wondering how we count that, because it's just a machine that we have, and it gives us, so I'm wondering if we need to start calculating gallons or something like that. I'm already thinking about all our alternative
There's
compliance.
probably an app for that.
Yeah, there isn't a number assignable to that.
I don't know, it was just like, you totally, like, saw on as we.
Yeah.
Oh, did I?
65%.
I know, it was going through, well, in my defense, I do agree that I am a little bit dirty, especially with those numbers, but I am working on a green report right now. So I'm just like.
I'm a nerd, I love it. I look at your face.
I think you're my friend here.
Yeah.
We're all nerds.
Yeah, no, we're all here, yeah. So, are there any credits that you guys would like me to? Oh,
Yeah, it's the same for food, you only 60%, for example, 100%.
how much food do you guys bring in here?
Not a lot.
Do you guys ever buy like food for programming or anything like that? Or?
Not frequently, but once a month before meetings and once before meetings and once for staff. Then if it's safe, try not to necessarily for food, not
What about coffee? What kind of coffee do you guys buy here?
Generally, we don't really make coffee anymore.
Oh, you don't make coffee?
When I was growing up, we would just make a cup of coffee, and I don't know. But we don't make coffee, it's not like you get local coffee.
Well, fair trade.
Yeah.
Or either one. Or if it's fair trade, you have any account that comes in.
I think there's some stuff. Yeah, we can give you that contact. That'd be great.
How big is stormwater?
It's
Is it
so-
a rain barrel and a rain barrel?
We don't buy coffee on a regular basis.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Well, then it should be easy for you guys to make the switch then, if you're only buying it every once in a while.
You have a bunch of those kind of either looking for the tree or local. Or a combination of the two of them.
Yeah, the food one is actually like, well, I know for us, it's very difficult.
Well, for you guys, yeah.
For us, it was really, we actually just like exempted the food service provider. We just couldn't get everything we needed from them. But that's a hard one, especially because it's a convention center. We don't actually, the coffee we make comes like a concentrate. I shouldn't tell people that, but it does. So it's not like ground coffee. It's not like coffee that we're making like mixed with. It's actually not that bad, and I'm a little snobby about coffee, but I actually think the coffee's pretty good. When they told me that, I was questioning my own coffee snobbiness because I thought that the coffee was good, but it comes in bags, kind of like a box of wine bag thing. That's usually what it comes in. So now I'll just told you that I drink coffee. So anyway, do we want to go over some of these credits? Which credit do you think would be a good one?
Just pick one,
Well,
and then whoever that one is, we'll just swap that out for innovation and operation.
well, I think they can still do it, because I wasn't going to actually upload it. I was just going to show them an example of what it looks like. It is kind of cheating. It is kind of cheating. Oh, that's true.
And I will share it.
What, that's actually a really good idea. What are his credits?
He's got the minimum program requirements.
Why is it doing
Access
that to me?
7.1, 7.2, and then IDQ 3.2.
Wait, SS 7.1 roof or non-roof?
He's got both roof and
Oh, he does. Okay, we can do roof.
Yeah, I thought
We can do roof. I don't.
Is that what you want to log in under?
Yeah, because I want to show like what documentation looks like. I'm not gonna actually fill it in unless we have that information. Do you see what I'm saying? So I don't really think it's that much cheating. I just want to show like a process and okay, there we go. So we're clicking here on the convention center. There's that circle that I was talking about. Taunting you. I'm sorry? I didn't at first, but once I figured out the system requirements issue, like that you have to use the Internet Explorer, and here's that, when I was talking earlier about the important thing, if you click this compatibility view, this is important to do before you try to upload documentation, because if you don't click that, sometimes it won't actually let you save things. Again, I learned that. This is the PC. The little broken thing, it says compatibility view. So that once I learned that little trick, it became a lot easier. Like Mark said, though, it definitely varies from time of day how slowly things move on the website.
And you're using it?
Yeah.
The West Coasters are strolling in and work at their flip flops and shorts like that. Angelica, you got 2 projects in the vote flat. That's pretty solid.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's definitely quality over quantity.
I only have 2, but they're 2 good ones.
Even a lead snob.
Yeah, I am.
So you guys have a reputation of anything.
Yeah, exactly.
What was your other project?
We did a fit out for our office space within the convention center. So we got that certification in May of last year, I think. That was fun because I'd never been through commercial interiors either, so I was learning as I went. But it certainly helps to at least understand LEED Online. Okay, so this is SS credit 7.2 heat island effect for the roof. So in our case, for one reason or another, I mean, if you're familiar with the convention center, which I'm assuming you all are, we have that stainless steel roof, which obviously is very reflective. For one reason or another, we didn't actually get this credit under our original certification. I did see some correspondence about that, but I'm not really sure what happened there.
It's the materials. Back in those days, it was all about Albedo.
Oh, okay. So it was different.
It wasn't about evasivity and Albedo.
I see. That actually makes a lot of sense. So in our case, since we had a special type of roofing material, you would be able to get like cut sheets for whatever you guys have up there probably. But for our situation, our manufacturer wanted to use this as a case study, so they actually came out and tested to calculate the SRI of our roofing material. So in our case, we also have a green roof, just like you guys do. So here we are clicking option 3 because we had a combination of high albedo and a vegetated roof covering the minimum required area. So sometimes when you click on some of these like radio buttons or with the little check boxes, you'll click on something and then a whole bunch of new stuff will pop up that wasn't there before. So you'll notice that will happen. Maybe.
Do you lose what you put in under the other option?
I actually don't think so. I think I can't edit this.
Don't put it because I asked.
I don't think so. I think that if you change from option to option, because I actually was doing that on our office project, it saved the information as long as I saved the form, and it would pop back up even if things change.
So you can sort of run different
scenarios, yeah. But you definitely want to go through, when you guys are working on your own template, I mean, I know Janelle printed one out for you, so you're probably seeing the full form, but I know there were a few that I was like, oh, this won't be that bad, and then I click on a button and there's like 3 more pages showed up, and I'm like, uh-oh. So you're going to be careful about that. So here is the actual table where you're providing the information on the materials on your roof. So we had a few different, trying to think now, why did we do it this way? Oh, because we had, since our roof is sloping, we calculated some of it as a steep slope and some of it as the non-steep, what is it called, low. Yeah, there's a different reflectance rate that you have to achieve, and there's low slope versus steep slope, and so. Right. So since we had the sloping roof, the stuff at the top was considered a steep slope because of the there's a calculation for how you know the difference between steep and low, and I don't think it's on here, but that's why we did it that way. So we had to calculate which part of our square footage of that roof, and you guys might have that same situation here. You have some flat roofs. Are they all flat?
Yeah.
No, I just didn't know. They don't have any.
Anything between two pitches and 12.
Oh, okay. I think maybe I'm just thinking about your solar panels and like thinking that those are the pitch of your roof, but that's not it. Right. Okay. And so on the SRI value, this 111.6, this was the value that was given to us by our manufacturer, but probably more relevant to you is this 85 SRI value, and this was the material for these Hanover Glacier White pavers that we had on our green roof. This was the number that was given in the manufacturer's cut sheet for the product. So figuring out what the square footage is of each one of those and putting in all of this information, and then it spits back at you some information here. This 1 million number. Oh, I guess you can see this. You can't see what I'm pointing at. No, there are actually 2 roofs. The stainless steel, it was because some of it was steep and some of it was not.
Okay, so like on our roof, we have like maybe like 3 roofs, you know?
So does it matters though what kind of material they are?
No, this would all be one roof. This whole area. And the roof?
It probably would. Any outdoor space that's not covered or whatever would also count as the roof. Well, so whatever was covered would count as the roof then, like whatever the covering is, I would think. Well, then the solar panels are exempt, so maybe it doesn't count if there's solar panels.
Yeah.
Good question. Yeah, and then I don't know too about what is the roofing material other than the green roof? Are they all those green pavers, or is there something other than that? No, but I mean, is there another roofing material? Like, you don't have a ballasted roof or anything here, do you?
Yeah.
Okay, so you would just have the two different types.
The big one over here, they had rocks on it, but when we got, the ballast, I think,
Ballasted.
when we put the, solar panels on here, we took the rocks off.
Okay.
So,
Well, it doesn't. If there's solar panels over top of them, it's exempt anyway.
You'll take the rocks off, only if you have something else that will hold the roof again.
it brings the panels.
Well, so he's not going to have such an easy job, so it turns out. So here is, this is our total, yeah.
You're saying you have two different roofs, have this as one roof because it has the same material.
If it has the same material, then yes, then yeah, you could count that whole square footage. And I mean, you could break it out into two if you wanted to, but you don't have to. If it has the same, right. Exactly. You would just add the square footages together. So yeah, the only reason why we did that was because the pitch was different. So it spits back at you a number of the area of roof. Well, you can read, but the next thing that you're filling in, that we were filling in here, is this 12,000 square feet of vegetated green, our green roof. So this is part of the calculation that they use to determine whether you're compliant with the credit. And then there's a weighted value for the vegetated roof area, which this is not something that's that you can edit. The only things that you can edit are these ones that are kind of highlighted. So these are just numbers that lead, or that the credit form spits back at you. And then here's, yeah, sure.
So you're saying that you tell them the square footage and they tell you how much it is?
Well, no, they don't. What kind of green roof is just green roof? Yeah.
It's not the weight, they just mean weighted.
Oh, sorry, the weighted average. Sorry, yes. Okay. Yeah, but yeah, the green roof is just considered green roof here. The only place where the different types of the green roof, like whatever you have up there, would really come into play would be in the water efficiency credit with the landscaping, because sedum obviously needs less water or whatever than grass. Yeah.
That's the one where, no, well, now,
Right. So then you're giving them the total roof area, and here's where the exclusion for the PV panels comes in. You exclude mechanical equipment, PVs, and skylights. So there's a lot of your roof that will actually be excluded from the calculation. So, yeah. So that's where... I don't know how much of a footprint that actually takes, though.
Would that be a mechanical?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. But so this is where whatever that paver, the SRI is of that paver, is really important, because that's going to be, other than your green roof, that's going to be like your only other contributing factor to this credit. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it gives you some information. And then there's, for any high albedo roofs, you have to provide maintenance information on how you're maintaining it to make sure that the SRI isn't decreasing over time because it's getting dirty and things like that. And basically, even though this is several paragraphs long, as you can see, basically all we said is we don't do anything to it because the rain washes it away, and it's the manufacturer's recommendation to not do anything. That was just a long-winded way of saying that. Yeah. Yeah, we were really fortunate that we were able to, the manufacturer wanted to use this on their website as a marketing thing, so we were able to leverage all that information, or else this would have been a much more difficult credit for us to get. And then there's also maintenance information that you need to provide on the vegetated roof. So whatever your maintenance plan is, or if you have, I don't know if you guys have a contractor that you work with, or do you guys just do it?
We do.
So whatever,
Right, and that's what you would write in here, is exactly what, maybe it's a weeding twice a year or something like that.
Yeah.
So whatever that is, it needs to be formalized and put into here.
Do you have to, in like the BNC, you have to talk about what the 3-year SRI value of a certain material is? So the SRI on a brand new material might be 32 weeks, and then after 3 years it goes down to 29. So does that mean they included EBOM?
I think you use whatever the current one is, right, because it would be wherever you are in that life cycle. So for us, we use that 111 or whatever because that was tested months prior to us, so we knew what the exact value was. But yeah, that's something to consider, that if you're looking at a manufacturer's cut sheet, you know you're 5 years in, then you need to be figuring out how that would affect your SRI. That's a good point. Then we have some upload information, which I'll click on in a minute, but I wanted to show down here. This is where I was showing before, because I know it was blurry, but the special circumstances that you can kind of add in some dialogue if you're trying to provide some additional information, or if you want to do an alternative compliance, this is where you would click those boxes, and then it would expand and provide you a space to provide additional information. So right here is where you can see that we've documented the credit, because it says 1. If we didn't do it correctly, it would say 0. I think it's 0 and not just NA or something like that. But when the form is active, that check compliance button would be right here. So you would click on it after you've updated everything, and it would make this 1 show up if you've done it correctly. And you can see that we didn't provide enough information to have exemplary performance. So let's go to the file uploads really quick. So here's, where's the circle going to come up?
Did you say whether it was a good idea to save before you tried to do the compliance?
Yeah, I just pretty much saved like every 30 seconds, yeah. Yeah, I am a compulsive saver though in my regular life. What? No. So you should just save as much as you possibly can. That's my advice to you. So what we provided here, the first upload, and these are required uploads. So this is where I was saying before that if you don't have these uploads, it won't let you complete the credit. So it doesn't actually know that you gave the correct thing. I mean, this could really just be like me, yeah. Yes, it could be like, yeah, photos of all of us, exactly. But it's not. So the first thing that they're asking for is providing the project roof plans or drawings depicting the roof area and highlighting the location of specific roof materials and or vegetated roofing systems. So here is the aerial that we provided.
With existing plans of operations and maintenance, you very well may not have drawings.
Yeah, that's true. And at that, well, for this, I think a diagram would probably be okay. Like, I don't think you need really engineer. Maybe Mark knows better than me, but I don't think you would really need engineering type stamped drawings, because you can see that we took an engineering drawing and just overlaid some stuff on it in Photoshop just to make it look pretty. But you certainly don't have to do that. So you can see what we were trying to show here, like counter. I did a lot of these graphics, yeah. So what we were trying to show here are the different roof areas that we showed on the chart. So we have, this is what our green roof looks like here, so that's the green. These are the white pavers that we talked about. And then we also highlighted anything that was non-compliant. So this is the stainless steel roof, and then this is just our regular concrete terrace, and then we have some ballasted roofs up here as well. We did exempt some areas for escalators, elevators. Actually, I'm seeing that we didn't exempt the penthouse. Maybe we did. Oh, it's actually not on this drawing. Okay, well that's actually incorrect, but whatever. It's too late now. So that's okay, because it would have been exempt anyways. We also provided an elevation detail. This is more information than they requested, but just to show you kind of what we had here. So this is just depicting what I was talking about, where some of the roof was steep and some of it was not. And then we have backup information about the SRI values. So for the pavers, this is the one that would be relevant to you guys. I thought we actually highlighted it, but maybe we didn't. I don't see it on here. Glacier White. Okay, so here's where it provides the information that we would need, and I thought we highlighted this, but I'm not seeing it in here. So these are the kinds of cut sheets that you would need to provide as documentation to show compliance. So that pretty much sums up what a credit looks like. After all of that information was entered, you would mark this as complete, which it already is marked complete. And at that point, no more editing can happen. If you want to edit it again, you have to click in progress in order to access the form.
So we're asking that all of you keep it as in progress. CCI would probably bring a ball back on at some point to go through that review process to make sure that the language is all there, etc. And that's when they'll mark it. So as you upload your information, you upload the documentation, just leave it as in progress.
All right, so I think that's about it. Before I finish up, though, I did want to show that they have done a lot to the formatting of the review report. This is the one that we had for our office space. So it's much easier to read than what I showed you previously. Here you can see, zoom in a little bit. So this is what you get back. This is our preliminary review. Trying to find one that was pending. Oh, here's one. So here's the technical, you can see the technical advice down here that they're asking for us to provide. And it's really, really detailed here. Please provide a statement signed by the building owner to verify the use of the bicycle storage or exclusive to the occupants of the LEED-CI building. This was important because we were already showing that we had bike racks for the larger building, and they wanted to make sure that we weren't double counting things. That we weren't saying that those same bike racks were also designated for employees when we were designating them for transients or whatever for the larger building. So all those types of details, what they're going to ask you about that you think you didn't even think about. So is there any other questions? All right. Well, thanks, guys.
Great.